Nation, I'm Trace Rolko. Welcome into the Sons of UCF Live. Adam is here, so too UCF, my guys. Less than 24 hours until the start of the 2023 UCF football season. Good to see you.
Mid-season form, Trace. Everything's crashing around here. Nothing's working. We are in mid-season form here for the Suns, but I don't care because football is 23-ish hours away from right now.
Good to be back, guys. Trace, did you get everything figured out with that Japanese bidet thing you got going on?
No idea what you're talking about, but I like a hot dog from there at the Cabanas. Could you turn around and get a hot dog? I like your backdrop. By the way,
Thanks.
You've come back and joined us, the three of us united again. It's been a while.
That might be the technical difficulties we were having. You know, the Wi-Fi balls on the top of the stadium might be interfering with my reception right now.
Yeah, we had a little delay off the top, some StreamYard issues. So we thank you for being with us. Guys, UCF, Kent State, 7 o'clock in the Bounce House. We've been talking about football now since that bowl game loss. Transfer portal's been busy. We've had a spring camp, a preseason camp. It's finally here. We got a little more talk this next hour, but we're finally upon a new season.
Best time of the year, Trace. Opening day there's nothing sweeter. Your team is undefeated. You're full of optimism. We've been waiting, at this point, 9 months to get a game kicked off. We think our team is great. I think we have a good chance to be really good this season. All our friends back together in the Bounce House. I can't think of anything better than the eve of the start of a season, particularly when you know your team potentially has a chance to be really good.
I'm sending a message to the people on that are watching on the other stream just in case they haven't, because I don't see anybody in the comments here. But I'm pumped up, man. First game of the season. You heard me during the week. There's nothing better than a fresh start, 0-0. You put the bowl game behind you from last year. The end of the season last year, it's over. New team, new conference. Let's roll.
And let's hear from head coach Gus Malzahn on what he's looking forward to most on Thursday night.
I want to see how our team responds to success. I want to see how it responds to adversity. I want to see how close we really are. We've said before, we strained our group in fall camp, to bring them closer together and to make sure that we are all together no matter what happens. So that's really what I'm excited to see.
And he's going to get to see all of that on Thursday night against a Kent State team with a new head coach and all kinds of new players there. Adam, what are you most looking forward to seeing on Thursday night from the Knights in particular?
Yeah, I said this on the podcast. I want us to go out in our first couple drives and just be really precise in execution, go down the field and make plays. Third downs, if we need to convert those. I told Mike, I want to be up, 2 touchdowns by the time the second quarter starts. I want to see us precise on offense, making strong plays, no mistakes. I don't need the flashy play. I know, sure, a 65-yard bomb on the second play of the game, I'll be jumping up and down like crazy in the cabana. But I want to see precision execution, no mistakes, moving the ball on offense. Defense is solid, and that's what I want to see. If we're at 14-0 as the clock says 15 second quarter, I will be a happy camper.
The first early games of the season, usually you see a lot of penalties, a lot of sloppiness. I'd love to go out there and see a clean game, keep the penalties to a minimum, maybe force some turnovers, something we didn't do that much of last season. I think if we can win the turnover battle most weeks this year, we'll be in very good shape. Those are 2 things I'm looking forward to.
We've been talking about the different position group battles. The depth chart dropped on Monday. There's been a great deal of confidence in the defensive line. We've heard a lot of talk about Lee Hunter throughout this camp. As the defense goes, Adam, is this the position group you think that is the strongest on defense?
I think by extension, right? We know we have the most veteran group coming back with both Tramon Worth-Brash, Josh Sheliskar. I know you have been, I don't know if he's paying you, if you're on the payroll yet for Lee Hunter Enterprises. If not, you need to get on the payroll because I know you have been a staunch supporter of what Lee Hunter brings. You bring in Ricky Barber. You have a true freshman, John Walker. You would think that you have people along that front line that have proven over their time at UCF they can play well, and that there's a lot of potential for them to take a step forward. So you would think that would be the group that you'd expect consistent execution out of.
Defense is what's going to win championships in this league. Traditionally, just an offensive league. The teams that play the best defense are the ones you see on Championship Sunday. Kansas State last year, one of the best defenses in the league. If we can force some 3-and-outs on some teams, now with the new rule changes, if you can do that, you can stay on the field with the running game, drain the clock out. If we're going to be underdogs in some of these games, you shorten the game that way. I like the rule. I think it'll help us out.
Well, let's talk more about the 2023 Knights with a longtime assistant coach for the program. He is Paul Lounsbury, recent guest on the Sons of UCF podcast and a first-time guest stopping by on Sons of UCF Live. Let's welcome in Paul now.
Maybe. Coach, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you for sure. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
I'm sorry. I don't know why my camera's not working, but evidently it isn't.
No worries, Coach. Welcome in. I'm often jealous of you. I see you out at practice. The media members get 15 minutes and then they kick us out. It seems like you get to be out there a little bit longer than the rest of us.
Well, I'm lucky that they allow me out there. It's certainly not anything I do to help them, but they help me get my football fix, you know?
Well, we've heard from head coach Gus Malzahn and others that there's a night and day difference in quarterback John Rice Plumlee. What have you seen from him that may make you feel the same?
Well, I've seen an improvement throughout spring and preseason in all the quarterbacks throwing. And I think, John Rice is just getting more and more experience. He was out for 2.5 years, and last year he was very good, but I think he's gotten better. And Timmy has done a great job too. And again, he's had to learn a new offense and everything. I think he's getting better every day as well.
Coach, obviously you spent a lot of time, around teams, and we're 23 hours away from week one. As a coach, what are you looking for right now, 23 hours out from a game? How do you kind of quote unquote know that your team is ready for the season?
That's a great question because it's not an easy thing to answer. You never really know until you get in the game and see how they're playing. But I have seen a tremendous attitude from this football team throughout practice. They're working hard. They're focused. The coaches have done a great job getting them mentally prepared. And I think all the indicators are that we're going to play well.
What are those indicators, Coach? What are the things that you're seeing that you, in your veteran wisdom of coaching, that you got your notebook and you're checking off saying, okay, that's a good sign, that's a good sign, that's a good sign?
Well, number one, they're working hard at practice, very hard. Secondly, their attitude is exceptional. They are into it. They're paying attention to what they're being coached to do, and they want to play. They're ready to play, I think, because they've been working that hard. They've invested that much. And when you invest a lot, you tend to answer the bell when the bell rings.
Coach, what would your philosophy be going into a season opener like this against a big underdog? Do you keep the playbook vanilla, or do you kind of want to show a little bit of something, try to get the other teams, give them something to think about down the road?
I think you have to have enough in the playbook ready to go to answer all the situations that might come up. But at the same time, you want to keep it relatively simple if you can, because simplicity helps execution. So I think Coach Malzahn and all the coaches have done a great job of doing that. They've kept it simple. It's not exotic by any way, shape, or form, but the fundamentals have been taught and the players have learned them and used them in practice. And I think they're going to use them in the game as well.
What do you expect that we will see from Darren Hinshaw's offense in his first season as offensive coordinator with the Knights?
Well, first of all, I think Darren's a great quarterback coach, and I know he's a great play caller too. He was a great quarterback for us when I was coaching there. I think you'll see a lot of what Coach Malzahn wants to do, and I think there's going to be Darren's own imprint on it, but I think it's Coach Malzahn's offense run with Darren's input, and I think it's going to be great. I think you'll see us go down the field and challenge them in the passing game, and I also think you'll see north and south running. You'll see good screens. You'll see some trickery possibly. I think it's a good mix.
Coach, as Chase mentioned, you had a chance to be at a lot of practices on offense and then on defense. Is there one player that stood out to you that as you sat there week after week, day after day, that just really kind of pops in your eyes that you could sort of put your finger on?
I don't know if I can say that there's anybody that stood out any more than what they have done in the past. I mean, John Rice has been excellent. Javon Baker's been excellent. The running backs, there's 5 of them that can play, and they've all contributed differently. I mean, they all have their own talents, and offensive line is I think more experienced and better than they've ever been. Defensively, we're better up front. The linebackers that they brought in have really helped us, I think, too. And the secondary, I think, is solid. So the thing I see more than anything is better depth on both sides of the ball and in the kicking game. We have depth everywhere, I think. And I think that's a huge thing when you look at what the season presents. We're going to have to play well every week, and I think that depth is going to help us a lot. So I would say the one thing that I see is depth and a great attitude by the players.
When you're a coach, you have to keep your composure on the sidelines. You got to stay in the game. But now you watching the game as a fan. First of all, where are you watching the games from? Are you going to be on the sideline or you're in the stands? And how do you act during a game? Are you composed or are you a little crazy like some of us?
No, I'm going to be on the sideline. They've allowed me to do that, and I don't get emotional at all because that's not my place. The coaches can handle that on their own. I am a fan, but it's hard for me to sit in the stands because so many fans criticize the players and coaches, and I have a hard time dealing with that. So I try to stay out of that situation. But no, I'll be silent, and I'll tell those guys good job when I get a chance to. But that's about all I can do.
On Monday, Coach Malzahn said he has familiarity with Darren Hinshaw and Addison Williams. Though, what's the challenge, do you think, in 2 first-year coordinators under Malzahn this year for the Knights?
I think they have to feel comfortable in what they're doing, and I think they do. But as the season progresses, I think they'll get into more and more solid footing as far as their own feelings go, as far as calling the game goes. And having been a coordinator myself, that's an important aspect of things. It's you have to feel comfortable in what you're calling, and I think they'll do that as they get into the season. They'll gravitate towards what they feel best about.
You mentioned John Rice Plumlee earlier, Coach, and we heard Gus Malzahn multiple times this camp talk about JRP made a night and day difference. As a coach, what does that mean? I mean, I understand the verbiage, but as a coach, what does that mean to you? And what are the things that you would see that would make you say to yourself, somebody's made a night and day difference?
I think it's the little things, the fundamentals that are being taught, and how those get expressed on the field in scrimmages and in practice. I think there's just a much more confident offense and defense for the Knights. So that's how I would say it. I don't know if that's a very clean answer, but it's the little things. It's the little fundamentals that they use, and it's the general attitude that goes along with that confidence that I think is going to help our whole football team.
Is there one thing from your trained eye that you see that JRP is doing fundamentally better this year than last year?
I think he's throwing the ball better and knowing where to throw it quicker. I think it's just a part of it's Darren being with him all the time. Part of it is the fact that he's been back in at quarterback now for 2 years, or this is the second year. So I think all of that adds together to help him in his decision making back there at quarterback.
If you were going to point to a couple stats that are going to be the most important thing for this team throughout the year, where do you think we need to be solid at? What's the most important thing?
I think number one, we have to play great defense against the run. And number two, we have to be able to run the ball on offense. I think those two things are critical for us. We also, of course, have to be able to throw the ball, but I think we can do that. I think we have better depth than we've had since I've been around, and I think those things are going to add up too. I don't know what else to say. I think we're just a better football team.
For months now, Knights fans have been discussing and debating what success will be this season, what it'll look like if that's 6-6, if that's a bowl game. What do you think this team can do in its first year in the Big 12, making that transition from the American?
That's a difficult question to answer. I think we're never going to be out of a game. I think we're going to be competitive all the time, and I think we can win every game. But whether we do win them or not, sometimes that comes down to breaks or one or two plays that make a difference. And we've got to win the close games, and I think we will a lot of times. I don't know what our record's going to be. I know that the players will not be satisfied with anything but a win every week. And I think they're going to take it one game at a time, and I think they'll do a great job of that.
Earlier in the preseason camp, Coach Malzahn said a point of emphasis was those late game situations. He says many of these games in the Big 12 come down to that last possession. What's key in being on the right side of those more often than not?
I think preparation is the key to that. And I can tell you that our football team and Coach Malzahn and his staff have done a great job, both sides of the ball, in practicing those particular situations. And I think we're ready for those situations. And I think that's going to give us an edge.
Coach, obviously you know more football than pretty much all of us fans combined. But if there was one lament that the fans had last year on defense, is it appeared that our cornerbacks never got their heads turned around to the ball, and a lot of easy completions were had on that secondary. I guess a two-parter for you. One, is that a strategic coaching point in some respects? And two, do you expect that to change this year, or do you think that that's a strategy UCF will employ going forward?
I think it all depends on the fundamentals and how the players are able to respond. And I think our coaching staff has prepared them extremely well in that regard. I think you'll see a lot better play from the secondary as well as from the linebackers and defensive line that will allow us to make those plays maybe that we couldn't make last year.
But is that a coaching point? Is there a coaching point that dictates to a player to not have their head turned around? Is that something like from a scheme perspective that we would put in place, or that is in place based on the strategy the defense is running?
Well, obviously, when you're in man-to-man defense, you focus on the receiver, and that's good. You have to, and eventually you want to be able to get your head turned towards the ball no matter what. But first of all, you've got to be in position, and I think getting in position is the number one thing, and that may have been the issue last fall a little bit. I don't know, but I think we're ready this fall. I don't think there's ever a time where you don't want the defensive back to try to find the ball once he knows where it's coming. But first of all, you got to be in position, and I think our players are really well coached to do that.
Coach, you making the road trips with the team as well?
No, I don't think so. I'll watch them on TV and enjoy that. It'll be a lot of fun.
At least you don't have to take a trip to Lubbock, right? Save yourself that headache.
Well, I would love to go, but at the same time, there's a lot more important people that need to go rather than me. So I'm just happy to be part of it and to be able to go to practice and be able to be on the sideline for the home games. I'm just happy that they're allowing me to do that.
And how are you feeling less than 24 hours to kick off of a new season? What's the emotion that you feel as we get ready for another season?
Like everybody, great anticipation, high hopes, great expectations. And at the same time, you have to be realistic and understand that it's going to be a lot of close games, in my opinion, and it's going to be a hard-fought season. Every game's going to be a tough game. I think this game with Kent State is a little crazy because they've lost so many players and coaches that it's hard to know exactly what is going to happen. So you don't know exactly how they're going to attack us offensively or defensively. And they have a whole bunch of new players too. So it's hard to know how good they are. But I know that we are good. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. And I think we're the better team, and I think we'll prove it.
Coach Lounsbury, we appreciate you being with us on Sons of UCF Live. Enjoy opening night.
Thank you so much. I appreciate what you guys do too.
All right, we'll talk to you again,
Thanks,
Coach.
Thank you.
You heard him say it, Mike. High expectations, but also have to be realistic. And I think we've all been struggling with the right balance on that as we get ready for a new season.
I'm always going to err on the side of high expectations going into the season. Now, if they show me something in the first 2 weeks that gets me worried, then I can always say, I could change my opinion on the team and say, hey, we stink. I don't think we're as good as I thought we were. So, and that's going to come probably after the Boise State game.
Yeah, gotcha. Quick football note, UCF Mike watch list is what we call it, Mike, when you're not around, but I'll call it that with you here as well. Linebacker Jason Johnson added to yet another watch list, Campbell Trophy. This one combines academics, community service, and on-field performance. So a lot of people looking at Jason Johnson. Adam put out the graphic earlier in the week, all the new faces that are joining the Sons of UCF team, and one of those is someone we're familiar with for his work for many years in his sports talk show that he does as well. Jeff Allen debuting a new segment with us this week. A look at the Big 12 in its first week.
It's great to be with you guys as part of Suns Live, and since it's a Big 12 minute, I better get to it. Our feature game of the week that doesn't feature UCF is future Big 12 conference mate Colorado taking on last year's College Football National Championship game participant TCU. Deion Sanders has certainly made a splash at Colorado with his larger-than-life persona, a massive roster turnover, and bringing along his son Shedeur from Jackson State to quarterback the Buffaloes. TCU coach Sonny Dykes has a change at quarterback as well, with the graduation of Heisman candidate Max Duggan, who started the season behind Chandler Morris, but retook the reins when Morris went down with injury against Colorado in the opener last year. The redshirt freshman Morris is back under center, where the offense is replacing 8 starters under new offensive coordinator Kendall Briles. This de facto conference contest airs on Saturday as the big noon kickoff on Fox. The rest of the Big 12 schedule looks like this, full of non-conference battles. Friday night, Kansas hosts Missouri State at 8 o'clock on ESPN+. The Saturday slate has number 20 Oklahoma hosting Arkansas State at noon on ESPN. Iowa State hosts Northern Iowa, 2 o'clock on ESPN+. Number 11 Texas hosts Rice at 3:30 on Fox. Cincinnati entertains Eastern Kentucky. It's a 3:30 kick on ESPN+. Number 16 Kansas State welcomes Southeast Missouri State, 7 o'clock on ESPN+. Baylor opens at home against Texas State, 7 o'clock ESPN+. Houston hosts UTSA. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff on FS1. Oklahoma State season opener is at home versus Central Arkansas, 7 o'clock on ESPN+. West Virginia hits the road to battle number 7 Penn State, 7:30 on NBC. Texas Tech also opens the season on the road. They're at Wyoming, 7:30 on CBS. And BYU hosts Sam Houston at 10:15 on FS1. All times are Eastern. More coverage on UCF's battle with Kent State, which airs tomorrow at 7 o'clock on FS1, I guess weather permitting. That's coming up on Suns Live with the Big 12 Minute. I'm Jeff Allen.
Trace, did you get all those times? There's going to be a quiz at the end of the show. Did you get all those?
I don't have all those times, but Mike, not too late to join the pool tracker. Looking at the games, a lot of big lines in these games this first week.
That's right. A lot of games against G5 teams, but you do have West Virginia going up against Penn State. That's a big marquee matchup in the conference this week. Don't forget to sign up for the pool tracker. We got time. We got the largest group ever, 154 last I checked, probably more by now. Pooltracker.com. The group ID number is 223006. Password is Big 12, capital BIG, number 12.
It's going to be challenging for you. I think you won this when there were just 4 teams in it, and since then you haven't been able to get a championship in this.
No, it was more than 4, but I know I've never finished worse than you. That I know for sure.
Yeah, I've heard you mention it on several shows over the last couple of weeks. Interesting foil for you. We heard Coach Lounsbury talk about all of the changes at Kent State. There was media availability with new head coach Kenny Burns, and he talked about what he expects from his team in its first game.
You're going to see us spread around a little bit. We're definitely going to be a team that does multiple things this first week. Like I said, we've kind of combined both worlds of what I did at Minnesota with what we've done here to create an offense, and that creates opportunities for everybody. So you're going to see the ball touching a lot of people's hands early on in the game to just get guys involved and get them going.
Well, let's learn more about Kent State. Steve Helwick covers the MAC for the Hustle Belt SB Nation's blog. Steve, welcome back to Suns Live.
Thanks, Trace. Really appreciate you having me on. I'm right now live from Florida, so I'll be there at the Bounce House tomorrow. Looking forward to it. I was there for the opener in 2021 against Boise State, so something's good about these September Thursday night. Actually, I guess tomorrow's August, but these opening night Thursdays at the Bounce House, it's always a good time there.
Well, you mentioned that. Talk about your travel. You covered Ohio at San Diego State week 0, and then you made the trek across country. You're dedicated to covering the MAC.
Yes, and I'm doing 3 games in 3 nights this week. I'm going down to Miami to the 305 to do Miami versus Miami Friday night. Then Saturday, I go back home to the Houston area to cover Houston versus UTSA, which is another Big 12 matchup. Former AAC team in Houston going to the Big 12, and that'll be their debut. So I'll get to see UCF's Big 12 debut and Houston's Big 12 debut. So should be a pretty eventful week coming up.
And you're out with a preview of Kent State and UCF. New coach Burns, we just heard from him. Tell us a little bit about him. He's come into this as a new head coach.
Yes, he's a PJ Fleck disciple. He has experience in the MAC before. He was a running backs coach at Western Michigan on that Cotton Bowl team that went 13-1, had 13 straight wins to start the year. And they had some pretty good running backs on that squad, Jamari Bogan, Jarvian Franklin. Then he goes to Minnesota, and Minnesota's been one team that's really had dominant running back play the past few years, most notably with Muhammad Ibrahim. And he was the one who was coaching up that running back room. He had the associate head coach role. And Minnesota's been really a dominant power running team under PJ Fleck, not a team that really drops back to pass too much, with the exception of the 2019 season with Tanner Morgan. But I think Burns will bring a lot of that scheme and style that he had at Minnesota to Kent State, as Kent State is breaking in a new starting quarterback. They don't really have experienced receivers. So I think they're going to be a team that's going to rely heavily on the ground game, as Kenny Burns has done in his past.
Yeah, Steve, tell us about this Kent State team. Who are some names that we're going to hear a lot on Thursday night, both on offense and defense?
Well, on the offensive side of the ball, you can look at every single stat accumulated by Kent State last year and basically throw it in the trash can, because they are replacing all 11 starters on the offensive side of the ball, including Marcellus Marshall, first-team All-MAC offensive tackle, who is listed as the starting right tackle for UCF on the depth chart. So Kent State has a lot of turnover, and they're starting the Purdue quarterback, Mike Alamo. Alamo don't really have too much experience at Purdue, but during last year's 63-7 beatdown in the Citrus Bowl to LSU, which was also in Orlando, Alamo threw Purdue's only touchdown pass of the game and completed 4 of 11 passes. That's basically about the extent of his sample size, as Aiden O'Connell manned that quarterback position pretty consistently the past few years. But I said earlier, that's going to be a team that's heavily reliant on the run game. And they have a running back duo of returning guys, and that would be Gavin Garcia, who was listed as the number 1 running back on the depth chart, and Xavier Williams, who missed the entirety of the 2022 season. But he was a force in 2021 on a Kent State offense that was one of the best rushing attacks in the country. He had over 800 yards that season. And Xavier Williams' last 2 games that year, he just went off with, I think, about like 250, 260 combined yards in those last 2 games that year. So they do have some talent at the running back position. It's what's the offensive line blocking for them look like? They're starting a true freshman at center. They're starting a left guard who has never taken an FBS snap before. There's going to be growing pains with this Kent State team. I think they're over-under win totals 2.5, and it's just because they have so much turnover, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where they've really made a name for themselves under head coach Sean Lewis, who's now at Colorado. Then defensive side of the ball, they have a bit more returning there, but that hasn't been their strength. They were 113th last year in total defense, and there were a lot of issues, especially in the passing defense. So I think that this is going to be a very difficult opener for Kent State, and it doesn't surprise me that the line is 35-36 right now.
Steve, you said over under 2.5. Should I take the over or the under on that?
Well, they have an FCS opponent on the schedule, which I think should be a free win. It usually is for most teams. And then can they win 2 other MAC games? I'm not sure if they can. Kent State's known for scheduling super brutal non-conference schedules. Last year, they had Washington, Oklahoma, and Georgia as
how'd they do in those
3 road games. Fun fact is, before that Georgia game, Georgia had allowed 10 points all season, just 7 points to Garbage Time in South Carolina and 3 points to Oregon. And Kent State went in there, and I think they scored double-digit points in the first half, and they lost 39-22. And they were within 10 points of Georgia in the fourth quarter. So they actually did pretty well against Georgia, better than TCU did. But the Oklahoma game, they were actually within 1 score of Oklahoma at halftime also. And then Washington game was a disaster for them.
Hang the banner there, Kent State.
Yeah,
Mike, I'm
going to 5-7 season too.
Mike, I'm gonna let you get your question. I'm sorry, I keep bogarting you, but this one came in the chat from Eric Henry. Do you intend to find a basketball court in every city that you cover a game in?
I saw the question. I'm like, Who knows this? I see it's Eric Henry. Basketball court. I will hoop anywhere, anytime. I always have a pair of basketball shorts on me. I will find somebody to dunk on here in Orlando if needed to be. So
there's a basketball court right next to the soccer field, adjacent to the football field, right by Burger U. So you could probably
I know where Burger U is.
Yeah,
you've piqued my interest. I will. Oh wait, I've actually seen that court before. I got a shot up on it before the Boise State game in 2021. So yes, I know exactly where that court is. So,
what time will you be available for some basketball in the afternoon?
Maybe I'll have to show up a little early and take out a few UCF students outside the Burger U. And
meet UCF Mike there at 5:45.
I got $20 for you if you dunk on Trace's head.
No.
Is there any talk around the Kent State people? I mean, I don't know how young this fan base is, or there was a time when UCF and Kent State were in the same conference. Any talk of the rivalry getting renewed here? This is the rubber match. Each team has won 2 games.
Yes, and Kent State carries a 2-game win streak into this game. They won the last one.
Talking trash right there.
Rivalry.
They won the last one pretty decisively in 2004. So right now, Kent State has the edge. It's 2-2. This is an even matchup. Anyone's ball game this Thursday night. But yeah, I mean, UCF, it's crazy how many conferences they've been in since then, going from independent to the MAC to the CUSA to AAC to Big 12, all in warp speed, while the MAC has remained pretty consistent. And every single team that UCF shared the MAC with is still in the conference to this day, which is pretty wild in this era of realignment.
Have you covered a game at Kent State?
I have not. I have not, but I have covered a game at UCF. I was there for the Space game against Temple last year. Then I was there for the Boise State game in 2021.
So you think UCF covers this line, or do you think they blow them out?
I put 38-6 in.
That's close, right? That's under.
Yeah, it is. And here's the thing: is one of my observations from week 0 were, other than really the USC San Jose State game, I thought the offenses were pretty underwhelming, and a lot of their plays are being taken away with these new clock rules. So I think even some of the blowouts that we see are going to be lower scoring blowouts than we saw in prior years. I don't think we're going to see a 70-13 final like we saw in UCF Temple last year. And I think that 38-6 is probably something that's reasonable. UCF's defense came out really strong to start last season, holding 6 straight opponents to 20 or under. I expect more of the same this year. I like a lot of the talent they have in the front 7. You were talking about Jason Johnson earlier in the show. Tremendous run stopper there. And then, I mean, they have pretty good defensive line talent entering year 1 of the Big 12. So if Kent State's identity is going to be the run game, I think UCF has the tools to really stop that and limit Kent State to single-digit points and maybe out of the end zone completely.
How much did you notice the clock change rules when you were in San Diego last week?
You can notice the fewer plays. That game did take a long time because of injuries and just reviews and stoppages, but the first quarter especially, it just seemed to fly by. I mean, with just first downs, you're losing it feels like 20 extra seconds or something. 10, 20 extra seconds each time that there's a first down. So there's fewer plays. So for teams that are consistently getting first downs and running up tempo like UCF does and like Kent State did in the past under Sean Lewis, I think that kind of changes a bit of the dynamic of the game. I think you're going to see lower scoring games this year, but I don't know if the games are necessarily going to get much shorter because last week they've remained relatively the same time as last year's games because of just increased ads.
Increased ads. Interesting. Steve, appreciate you stopping by. I'll see you in the press box. Fans can find you out at the basketball court mid-afternoon for a little one-on-one.
Yeah, thanks to Eric's question there. Sure, I'll stop by Burger U in that area before the game.
We have so in the green room right now. He can hear us, but he's not on the show yet. Is our friend Austin, who likes to hoop quite a bit. He's pretty good. Austin, I don't know if you can hear this, but Steve says he's going to be dunking on people at the Burger U court around 5 o'clock. If you want to show up, throw some high tops on. He'll be waiting for you. So Austin's cracking his knuckles. He's getting his back tight. He's good to go. I think we got a competition for you, Steve.
That sounds good. We really appreciate it.
All right, Steve.
Awesome.
See you out there.
See you there.
All right. Cheap plug time, Adam.
Geez.
New website. Oh, there's Mike. Very big.
It's not new. I mean, everything's moving here. It's not new. We decided
It's
to
revamped.
revamp the website. It's revamped. SunsUCF.com. And look, here's the cool thing. We had this site for a while. I didn't do much with it. And there's so many cool people that we had a chance to interact with. Dolly Dramas, Brian David Peterson, Miles, and folks who want to come on and talk about UCF and share some stuff. Maddie's going to write some stuff for us. Mike promised to call him once every 3 or 4 months. So we'll have some fresh content up there, and it's a good spot. Again, hoping to give people a platform to do some stuff. So if you're so inclined, sonsofUCF.com, check it out. We have all the podcast stuff there, all the video stuff's there as well. But really excited. Dolly's a really good writer. If you haven't read the stuff that Dolly's put out in what he calls the Lowdown with Dolly, Dolly's a really talented writer. Gets a really good perspective. Brian David Peterson, former UCF student body president, he's got a unique perspective. So a lot of unique stuff. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So bookmark sonsofUCF.com.
And I'm seeing pictures all over social media, people with Sons of UCF caps and hats and other stuff. The merch is starting to sell as well.
Yeah, really happy. So Chris, who's our designer of the logos here, he has his own site at Citra Night Apparel. He designs all our stuff, so it only made sense to work with Chris. And a couple hats up there now, and you can catch those. But Chris has some phenomenal, non-UCF branded stuff that if you haven't checked it out, it's a cool site. Bookmark it, check back, buy some stuff. If you want to buy a Suns hat, cool. Like we're good with that. But I think it's just important to support Chris and the work he does there.
All right. Time to talk a few news and notes before we go to the mailbag.
Yes, it is, Trace. And that's probably what you want me to play this sounder, which I'm working on. Yeah, working on that. A lot of technical difficulties.
We're out of sync on a Wednesday night.
A lot of technical difficulties tonight. I don't even know who is that supposed to be. Let's just move on, Trace. I'm not sure we have that.
All right. 22nd ranked women's soccer beat North Florida 2-1. Up next, they are at Penn State Thursday at 7 head-to-head with the football game. Sunday, they return home against FAU for what is being dubbed as a promotion, Canines in the Kingdom. I guess that means bring your dog to the game. 13th ranked men's soccer. They're up to 13 after they beat Clemson on the road. They also beat Stetson in the home opener. They return home. They have North Carolina State on Friday at 7. Tuesday, they host FIU. Volleyball, they are off to a 3-0 start. They open up the UCF Challenge. They've got matches Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. FIU, Mississippi State, Wake Forest, and Alabama State. We talked about the new look website. You can find Around the Kingdom, which features Eric Lopez and I discussing UCF topics. Nice 30-minute show every week. And this week we debated wins and losses for the upcoming season.
Yeah, before we get there, I finally found it.
Hey, this is Johnny Richardson. Let's go Around the Kingdom.
There it is. Now let's go.
See, he was so fast you couldn't get to it.
I didn't know.
All right. How do you feel about this one?
Who knows?
Do they cover the spread 33,
UCF's got to win.
points?
Woo. Make sure you sign up for Pull Tracker, by the way, Sons of UCF Live. Adam will have more on that later on the show. 33 is a lot. I need to know what the weather's like, but I will say, I would say yes, they cover barely. But I would stay away from it.
All right. Obviously, a slam dunk win. Most important thing, get out of it healthy, have no injuries. Most important thing. And, really, when you look at 33, 34 points, that's a touchdown or more, a little bit more than a touchdown or so, a quarter, and then you're going to win by that. I went back and forth on this one. I actually think UCF is going to cover this. I think they're going to win going away. I'm not even sure Kent State's going to score. And we heard from Steve that these games aren't going necessarily a whole lot shorter. So we'll get to see those new clock rules in effect in the game on Thursday night. Well, coming up after us, because we're on a special Wednesday time slot. Typically in this time slot, you find the Space Knights. Let's welcome them in to preview what they're going to be talking about right after we sign off here in about 15 minutes. Austin Heft and Stephen Leonard, who are behind the Space Knights on the Spaces every week. Guys, welcome in.
Thanks for having on first time here. So.
Yeah, I'm working on getting RBJ in here. I don't know if he knows about the new link, so but yeah.
That's our bad. Yeah, that's our bad.
Austin, you ready to show off your basketball skills with our previous guest out at the Court by Burger U?
Yeah, I heard the little bit of smack talk. You saw me cracking my back, and it's a new season, new me. I know Steven's probably going to throw some slander my way about my basketball game, but yeah, I could definitely hoop too. So
he invited people to meet him at the court to quote unquote dunk on them. That was an exact quote from him. That sounds like this. All of UCF needs somebody to stand up and put this Kent State stuff away really quickly. You can get an early W pregame if you're ready.
Let's just say my over-under on the score on beating him is nowhere near the UCF over-under. But I could definitely hoop. Now, I feel 31, though. Apparently, Steven told me the Indianapolis Colts don't have anyone my age on the roster. So
that's quite
I like it how the first sentence I hear is Austin. I'm 31, though.
And the third member of the Space Knights team, RBJ, welcome in to Suns Live.
How y'all doing, man? How y'all doing?
Doing good. We, like you, tired of talking about all these off-season stuff. We're ready for games. RBJ, what are you most looking forward to seeing on Thursday night for the Knights against Kent State?
I gotta think about it.
You got about 10 seconds.
Oh wow. Okay, that's not fair.
We're never going to be invited back on after this.
I just want to see deep bombs, man. I want to see this vertical passing offense that they're advertising. That's what I want to see. I want a combination of a rushing attack and vertical passing that they've been advertising all season. That's what I'm looking forward to see. I don't want them to show everything because they got the Boise State game next week, but a little taste. You know what I'm saying?
Steven, what about you?
Well, Steve, I know you're in the press room a lot with Trace. Has anything stood out to you that you've heard from Gus of the players? Any comments, any one person, any one sort of theme that kind of sticks out to you from being there week after week watching all these pressers?
I mean, they just keep talking about Lee Hunter. You can't go one press conference without his name getting mentioned, which I think that's great. Had a little bit of a motor issue coming out of high school, and now he's seemingly on the right mental track to dominate the Big 12.
Austin, you said you're in your 30s now. Are you still hanging out at Memory Mall with these guys, or have you graduated to the adult section of the tailgating?
Patrick Nurse just commented in chat. I go where he goes, which is softball area. I have officially reached that age. I'm uninvited to Memory Mall, apparently.
Wow, what happened?
I turned 31.
No, tell the real story. Tell the real story.
What's there was a real story?
Maybe you should tell the real story, RBJ.
Yeah, what's the real story?
Oh, brother. Okay, so the reason why Mr. Austin Huff here got uninvited is because he came up to me and Steven was like, hey, maybe I should come to Memory Mall and see if I still got it. And me and him really looked at him with a straight face and said, Austin, you are 31. You did. You were 31.
They keep me young.
If we had a 31,
wow.
Tailgating.
What was the age, Adam? What was the age cutoff when we had the dudes on the mall? What was it?
I think the dudes were 27. I think they got kicked out at 27 or something like that.
So Austin, you kind of hung out there a little longer than maybe you should have.
Yeah. I was lucky to meet Patrick. I learned about the softball tailgate, and the rest is history.
I've always been too old for the mall. I think in 2007 when the stadium opened, I was already 27. I've walked through the mall. I've never actually tailgated at the mall.
RBJ, where will you be? We should find you.
Oh, come on. You know where to find me. Also, the whole age gap thing. Yeah, the age cutoff is 30. But if you are a MILF, we can excuse it, I guess.
Okay.
Which is the kind of content that you will get on Space Nights following Sons of UCF Live. Austin, give it a plug. Where can folks find you guys?
At the Space Knights on Twitter, or X now, I guess. At SLeonard247. He's a great follow if you like news and updates. At RBJ2K1 and at UCF Stool for RBJ and me. I'm at Austin Heff. So you got a lot of ats thrown at y'all.
Got a lot of ads. Guys, enjoy the game, enjoy the season, and enjoy your show coming up right after us.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. Hopefully it's not the last.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks, Alice.
See you guys. Thank you.
All right. We mentioned him earlier, now part of our writing team on the website, but forever known for this.
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Every time. It's never not going to be funny.
And we've got a video question right off the top.
What's up, Night Nation? It's Ross, a.k.a. Spursy Knight, here in Lake Union Park in downtown Seattle. My questions for the Suns is, what are you looking forward to most in this opening game? Go Knights, charge on.
Adam, start with you.
I mean, just being there, man. Just being in that stadium, being with fans, catching up with people I haven't seen in a while. Tailgates, Burger U, the alumni tailgate, Cabana. Just being in that atmosphere. There's nothing like being in the bounce house with a bunch of people, night game, all the excitement in the world. So I hope we're gonna have a good field, good product in the field. But just being a part of it, man, and seeing everybody, nothing's better than bringing hopefully 40,000+ together and all celebrating a night victory.
You said, what am I looking forward to for tomorrow night? Was that the question? I couldn't hear what he was saying.
Yeah.
Just the end of this long off season. I hate the off season. It stinks, man. As soon as that Duke game was over, I was looking forward to this season, and now finally in the Big 12, I'm pumped up for tomorrow. So just to see football back, and not week 0 football, because that didn't count. There was nothing to watch. I watched about 3 minutes of that Notre Dame game, bored, turned it off.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it being back. I think there's just a greater sense of enthusiasm and excitement knowing that UCF is in the Big 12 and all the possibilities that exist from that. That'll only be UCF. What's more disappointing, not seeing Gamage on the depth chart or finding out Kenny isn't actually a dog. I think he is referencing one of JRP's newest NIL deals.
Wow. I'm concerned, guys.
Right?
Can I start a conversation here? I'm concerned for a second. JRP's got so many NIL deals right now. Is he playing quarterback still? I turn on Twitter every day and it's Pepsi, it's Mizzen in Maine, it's some shirt company today, it's Icy Hot. Like, is he playing football still? I'm concerned because he's got a lot of NIL stuff. I need him throwing a football.
And this was a fan base that made fun of a certain quarterback for hawking socks and such.
He was a bit of a pain in the ass.
If he throws touchdowns, nobody's going to care. Plus, isn't he donating all this? Yeah, but isn't he donating all his money?
That's a great call, Mike. To be fair, he is announced that I think proceeds from his jersey sales, which I think there's a deal with players and sign up that he's going to donate to the Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital, which is a really cool endeavor. But he's also making like $60,000 out of every other deal he's got. So, what are you going to do?
At M_M and UCF, putting this out there. Don't like this negative question. With the rain, some rain perhaps in the forecast, could be clear, but some rain in the forecast, lingering effects of the hurricane. Who will fumble first and in which quarter? It's terrible.
I'm just hoping I don't fumble my beer before the game, because if it's slick and my hands are wet, like I don't want to be the guy fumbling. So hopefully it's some other poor schlep who fumbles there. Is Corona the official sponsor? I want to make sure I get the brand right. I think Corona's sponsoring that lovely pregame concert that Mike's so excited about.
It's usually Yingling, I think they have up there in the Cabana.
Is it? I thought Corona's doing the concert.
I'm going to say JRP fumbles on the first drive and everybody freaks out. And then after that, he throws 5 touchdowns.
But all we talk about for an entire week is
the fumble.
The one fumble. Yeah.
Yes.
Brian W. Peterson, questions on both sides of the ball. Which one will you be keeping a closer eye on, offense or defense in the first game out?
Probably defense. I mean, I think we know we have players on offense. We know who they are. It's just going to be how quickly they gel together. On defense, I still don't know. Do we have the right members of the secondary? Do we have the right linebackers in place? So offense, it's going to be more like, hey, are they ramped up? Are they ready to go? Defense, it's going to be more who's somebody that's actually going to be able to be counted on for 12 games this year. So I guess I'll go defense. Defense
wins championships. And we heard the guy just now talking about Kent State, how bad they are on offense. If their offense is able to move the ball up and down on our defense, then I'm going to be very concerned.
Yeah, I'm looking more closely at the offensive line. I think it's interesting the depth chart that dropped and Bula Schmidt, where they put him, and I just want to see how they come together. This is a game to really work out some of those issues. You know, we saw a lot of oars on that depth chart, and I think, Mike, you talked about it on the podcast this week. You know, whatever this depth chart means, they're going to start to sort things out. You may see some different faces in different situations on that road trip to Boise. At Emptiness 4, Mike, is the Big 12 logo large enough on the field? We saw some of the logos and stadium shots released by UCF earlier in the week.
I thought it looked beautiful. I thought it's perfectly proportioned. I don't think it needs to get any bigger than that. I think it's going to probably change colors throughout the season. I think, you know, later in the year, you may see some gold end zones like we saw last year for the Cincinnati game. I say you change up the color of the Big 12 symbol at some point, maybe make it gold at some point, maybe a Canaveral blue during the space game. I think they're going to have a little fun with it.
Did you say gold?
Yeah, gold.
Can I get a wellness check on Brian W. Peterson? Can somebody please see if he's okay after hearing that? Please, thank you.
You already tried to steal my shirt, the one I'm wearing right now.
And I am Rob6719. I gathered this directed to me. He's asking, compared to Frost and Heupel, Malzahn, are there more people in the media room? There are not a lot of people in the media room, honestly. Half a dozen at most on any given media opportunity, and the TVs are hit or miss. So Big 12, but you don't get 12 media members in those press conferences. Be a little bit more on opening night and certainly on game nights. At Deportes Man 85, which fall sport other than football do you think has the most opportunity at success in their first season in the Big 12? Or in the case of men's soccer in the Sun Belt?
Yeah, I mean, right now, Trace, I mean, men's soccer is playing really well. Obviously, upset win at Clemson. They handled Stetson okay. Women's soccer, probably the more opportunistic of the teams, but lost a really tough one at Georgia. Didn't look all that great against UNF. Finally pulled it out at some point. So if I had to guess right now, men's soccer. I don't know if volleyball's played anybody. I'll trust the great Eric
Lopez. A little bit bigger test.
I'll trust the great Eric Lopez, who told us the first weekend games maybe were just kind of a tune-up. So I guess we'll see this weekend. So if you're asking me right now on August 30th, I guess I'll go men's soccer.
Has to be men's soccer at this point, right? Number 13 in the country, already with a big win under their belts. What else are you going to go with?
You mentioned Eric Lopez. Catch him on ESPN Plus broadcast of volleyball all weekend long, beginning at noon on Thursday. And finally, this is a new person giving us a question that came in late at Matovich. If there's time to ask a question for the show, and there is, win projections are one thing, but how many wins does UCF need in order to not see decommits from high-profile 2024 recruits?
That's a tough question because we had a decent season last year and we still saw, decommits already this year. We had a decent season last year and we saw kids leave the team. So I don't know if kids look at it as a win total. Now, granted, you can't go, 5 wins, 6 wins, and I think you're going to get some shade from recruits. But I think if you have a decent season and the NIL stuff is there and everything else is in place. So I'd be curious if we talk to a recruit where wins stacks on the list of decision-making points. Because I suspect these days, and maybe it's just me being old and cranky, I suspect these days that wins may not be as important as some of the other stuff.
No, money is what's most important. If these kids are going to get paid somewhere else, they're going to go. And just because you don't win this year, that can actually help in recruiting, because you can tell these guys, you can come in here and replace these guys that couldn't win this year. You got a chance to start right away.
Adam, safe travels to you. Hey, give a plug on Instagram. Maybe you and I will go live at some point before the start of the game on Instagram. How do folks find us on Instagram?
At Sons UCF.
Simple as that. Mike, good to see you. Always great having you join us on the weekly Sons of UCF Live, and hopefully we'll be able to talk football with you guys again soon, and you'll be on the pod this week breaking it all down. I want to thank everybody for tuning in for this week's Sons of UCF Live. For Adam and Mike, I'm Trace Trelko. Go Knights!
I actually just learned today was Steven Leonard's birthday, by the way.
Gage King, long snapper. Thanks for watching the Sons of UCF.
I like that dude.